Tonight, no charges against Winnipeg police for the death of Tammy Bateman, the woman who was hit by a police cruiser last year.
And I'd encourage all, museums that have the ability to return things to Canada.
As the Vatican is set to return Indigenous items back to its rightful owners in Canada this December, a Mi'kmaq Liberal MP calls for other museums to follow suit.
It's about the land-based teachings, teaching our youth about treaty rights education.
And teaching the next generation of Mi'kmaq youth. Our Angel Moore continues her coverage in Hunters Mountain, Cape Breton. Hanse, good evening. I'm Wolastoqey. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. In Fredericton, New Brunswick, police are investigating the death of a Wolastoqey woman as a homicide after police responded to a report that human remains were discovered in a wooded area north of Fredericton on Monday afternoon. Police confirmed a deceased female was at the location and they believe foul play is involved. The victim has been identified as 28-year-old Montana Solomon of Fredericton. Solomon is from Wolastoqey or Kingsclear First Nation in New Brunswick. An autopsy is pending and no arrests have been made at this time. If anyone has information on Solomon's death, you are asked to contact RCMP or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Manitoba RCMP Major Crimes have made 2 arrests in the double homicide investigation in Victoria Beach last June. Here's an update. The RCMP says after a lengthy investigation involving RCMP in both BC and Nova Scotia, they have charged 2 males. They include 28-year-old Mitchell Johansson from Grand Marais, Manitoba, who was arrested in Abbotsford, BC on October 7th. Then on October 22nd, 31-year-old Nathaniel Moore Harrison from the RM of St. Clements, Manitoba, was arrested in New Minas, Nova Scotia. Both have been charged with second-degree murder for the deaths of 29-year-old Sly Tebert and 41-year-old Melissa Wilson on June 20th, who both died by gunshots. RCMP believe both men targeted the victims. Johansson has been remanded in custody and has since returned to Manitoba pending a future court date. Moore Harrison is also returning to Manitoba for a future court date. RCMP Sergeant Sean Grunwald thanked the victims' families and the residents of Victoria Beach for their patience in this investigation, and they also thanked RCMP in both Nova Scotia and BC for assisting. Victoria Beach is a well-known cottage area in Manitoba, located about 100 kilometers north of Winnipeg. A Manitoba woman is demanding answers after she says her sister, who had leukemia, went to the hospital in Swan River when she had difficulty breathing and coughed up blood while she was in the waiting room. The woman was still sent home by medical staff where she later died. CTV's Alex Carpa reports.
I miss her a lot.
Naturel Cook is heartbroken. Her sister Shandy Rianne Cook died after being turned away from a Manitoba hospital earlier this month.
My sister had leukemia, so she had a hard time breathing.
On October 11th, her sister went to the health center in Swan River in western Manitoba after experiencing some difficulties breathing, and while in the waiting room, she was coughing up blood. Cook says Shandy was sent home after being told nothing was wrong with her.
And my dad said that he wanted to phone the ambulance, but she didn't want the ambulance phone because they were just going to send her back home.
Shandy eventually went to bed, but never woke up.
Now my dad just told me that he did CPR on her and it hurt a lot knowing that she went to bed right beside him and passed away in her sleep and he woke up to her being gone.
Cook says her family is now in the midst of pursuing legal action against the hospital. Prairie Mountain Health, which oversees the hospital, says there's currently an investigation into the incident. Manitoba's Health Minister Uzoma Zaguera is aware of the incident and says the province is taking steps to ensure a tragedy like this doesn't happen again. But Cook says she wished it didn't happen and now is left with many questions.
Why? Why would they turn her away even though she had trouble breathing? She told them, and she was coughing up blood, and I I don't see why they turned her away.
Shandy was 25 years old and leaves behind a 5-year-old son. Cook says she won't stop searching for answers until there's justice for her sister's death. Alex Carper, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The police watchdog organization in Manitoba, the Independent Investigation Unit, or IIU, says they will not be recommending charges against 2 Winnipeg police members who struck and killed a woman while driving their vehicle near a camp for homeless people in September of last year. APTN's TR Wheatley has reaction from the deceased woman's sister.
She was always a good kid, always. And, you know, she had a tough time going onto the streets and stuff, but our family still loved her. My dad.
Lori Bateman is remembering her sister Tammy Bateman. On September 2nd of 2024, around 9:27 p.m., Winnipeg police officers were driving their cruiser near a homeless encampment when they struck Tammy. She was taken to hospital but died of her injuries. The Independent Investigation Unit took over the investigation, interviewing 2 officers along with 3 other people who were witnesses. The IIU says now they will not move forward on any charges against the Winnipeg police.
In my eyes, I still haven't got an apology for what happened to my sister. And even with the report that's out there, I still don't think that they're taking accountability for what they did. Saying that they drove down the gravel very slowly, idling.
Lori says the family is upset with the investigation.
I just didn't feel like it was a good vibe coming from them, that they weren't there for me, they were there for the police officers.
According to Lori, Tammy was a member of the Roseau River Anishinaabe First Nation and was living in a homeless encampment along Winnipeg's Red River. Lori told APTN News her and Tammy, along with Tammy's brother, were adopted in foster care by the Bateman family as infants. Lori says her sister Tammy suffered mental health issues and had struggled in school before becoming homeless in Winnipeg, but they always kept in touch. When the incident with Tammy happened, Lori also said Winnipeg police did not contact the family. Instead, they found out about Tammy's death through friends 2 days later. Despite her hurt and anger, Lori is hoping the new police chief, Jean Bowers, will reach out to her now that the report is done. First for an apology and then to strategize to find solutions for relatives that are homeless and forced to live on the street or in encampments.
We need to all work together with the Winnipeg police so this never happens again.
TR Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
If you have a story idea, here's how you can continue the conversation with us. Send us an email to news@aptn.ca, and to read and watch our stories, you can go to www.aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow us at APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The Catholic Church recently announced it will be returning a few dozen artifacts to Indigenous communities. The artifacts are part of the Vatican Museum. Missionaries collected most of the items in 1925 for an exhibition. Negotiations on returning them began after Indigenous leaders met Pope Francis in 2022. The items will end up in the Museum of History in Gatineau, Quebec, where it will be determined where they came from and what should be done with them. Liberal Mi'kmaq MP Jaime Baptiste was asked what should be done with artifacts at other institutions across the globe.
I think that if there's calls to action where it's specific about the Vatican, but I think that there's a lot of appetite for communities to see some of their artifacts that were taken from them, and I'd encourage all museums that have the ability to return things to Canada that are in other places around the world, if that's the will of those nations.
Coming up after the break, we'll bring you an update of the legacy of Chanie Wenjack. Plus, we check in with our Edmonton video journalist Chris Stewart on what he's working on next.
I'm Chris Stewart. Big Stone Cree Nation lost a health center, church, and a water treatment plant, along with 22 homes from a wildfire this summer. Chief Andy Alec says the federal and provincial governments have dragged their feet in providing funding to help.
It hasn't been an easy and smooth transition to access funding, and I would say that it was also delaying a lot of supports and services for our membership.
That story coming up this week on the APTN National News.
Welcome back. Chani Wenjack passed away almost 60 years ago after running away from a residential school in Northern Ontario. But his legacy lives on through the Downey Wenjack Fund, started by the family of late tragically hip lead singer and frontman Gord Downey. The fund opened a legacy space in Amhertsview, Ontario this week, and APTN's Fraser Needham was there.
He died from exposure and hunger after running away from the Cecilia Jeffrey Indian Residential School in Kenora. He had been trying to find his way home to the Agoki post on the Martins Fall Reserve, 600 kilometers away, but he never made it home. The body of 12-year-old Chani Wenjack was discovered on a set of train tracks in Northern Ontario on October 22, 1966.
This is the first day of forever, the greatest day of my life, the greatest day of all of our lives.
Chani's story touched a nerve with tragically hip lead singer Gord Downey, which inspired him to ask Canadians to do better in their relations with Indigenous people. But on October 17, 2017, Downey passed away from brain cancer. The two are now forever linked through the legacy of the Downey Wenjack Fund.
He would never really have talked about the word, like even use the word legacy. He was really not that kind of guy. His actions, I think, were, how he spoke. But he knew, I think he knew that this was going to be important and was going to outlive him by a long time. So, yeah, he'd be very proud.
The fund facilitates learning about the dark legacy of kids like Chani Wenjack who went through the residential school system. This includes more than 100 legacy spaces, such as this one in the Recreation Centre in Amhertsview, Ontario, which officially opened on Monday to the sound of drumming.
One of the really beautiful things about the Legacy Space program is that communities can really tailor it to meet their needs, to engage, community members, local stakeholders, Indigenous leadership, elders, knowledge keepers, artists, to create these beautiful spaces that create safe, welcoming spaces for people to engage in, to lean into hard conversations, to learn more, and to hopefully be inspired and engaged to stay on this path towards reconciliation with us.
And Amhertsview also has its own special significance because it is where Gord Downey grew up and played minor hockey as a goalie before the family moved to Kingston in 1980.
And he'd be really proud today because this is where he took his Pee Wee hockey team to the All-Ontario Championships and they won. And those games were in this arena. And, that's my little brother, He was a winner.
Local Anishinaabe elder Judy Montgomery agrees the Recreation Centre is the perfect place to have a legacy space and ensure Chani Wenjack's story is never forgotten.
Because you're going to have people, waiting around for their kids to play hockey, and they might just wander in here and say, hey, I didn't know that before. I should check these books out of the library, or, I should learn more about what this issue is. And we're here to help open people's eyes.
Vic Linklater is a Cree musician from Moose Factory, Ontario. He serves as an ambassador for the Downey Wenjack Fund and also fronts a tragically hip cover band called The Poets. He says Downey may be gone, but his music and commitment to Indigenous issues lives on.
I try to go on that stage as a humble man, a humble Cree man who lives in the bush in Northern Ontario, and I get an opportunity to share both the music of the tragically hip and the message that Gord really believed with a huge passion to make things right in this country and do something for the Indigenous peoples and with the Indigenous peoples side by side.
I am the stranger.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
You can't see me.
The First Nations University of Canada and the University Network of Excellence in Nuclear Engineering have signed a Memorandum of Understanding just one day after the province of Saskatchewan announced its first major steps into expanding nuclear energy. APTN's video journalist Rachel May has the details.
Together, we're creating new pathways for Indigenous learners and communities to engage in nuclear and engineering sciences. clean energy and environmental stewardship, and to do so in ways that honor Indigenous knowledge systems and worldviews.
First Nations University President Jacqueline Ottman speaks about bringing Indigenous knowledge to nuclear research at a conference devoted to the subject in Saskatoon. The University Network of Excellence in Nuclear Engineering is sponsoring the event. They're an alliance of universities, industry partners, and governments based at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, who research and develop educational programs in the nuclear power research. Ottman says partnering with the network will open doors.
Through this partnership, we'll work together to co-develop programs and learning opportunities that weave together Indigenous and Western knowledge systems related to STEM. The goal of this partnership is to inspire students, our future leaders, to develop innovative solutions for clean energy that benefits our collective future.
The network has already partnered with the universities of Saskatchewan and Regina and Saskatchewan Polytechnic. Network President Jerry Hopwood says the new partnership with First Nations University is especially significant because incorporating Indigenous knowledge will strengthen and enrich their programs.
We are folks who know lots about nuclear technology, but we're right at the beginning of our journey with yourselves on combining that with Indigenous ways of knowing.
Earlier this week, the province of Saskatchewan announced it has secured its first small nuclear reactor. Officials at the event said education will play a key role in ensuring the province's power remains reliable and sustainable. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Photo of the day and weather is up next. Plus, our Angel Moore will take us back to Hunters Mountain and Cape Breton to tell us what the Mi'kmaq youth are learning about the land. Stay with us. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Thanks to Herman Red Sky for sharing this photo of cirrocumulus clouds during a sunset as seen from Shoal Lake number 40, located near the Ontario and Manitoba border. Thanks, Herman, for that photo. Keep your photos coming in by sending them to share@aptn.ca. Time now for tomorrow's weather forecast. Wolastoqey for staying with us. St. John, sunny and 12. Charlottetown, sunny there as well and 18. Nuujoo'ak, 3 and showers. La Grande River, 6. Quebec City, 11. Gaspé, 11 and sunny. Ottawa, 11 and partly cloudy. Showers in Peterborough at 12. Sudbury, 6 and partly cloudy. Sioux Lookout, +3. +3 in Churchill and sunny. Thompson, 5. Winnipeg, 6. Barons River, 4. 2 in Yorkton and partly cloudy there. Regina, 13 and sunny. Stony Rapids, 7. Buffalo Narrows, 5. Peace River, 12. Fort McMurray, 11. 16 in Lethbridge. Red Deer, 16. 12 in showers in Tofino. Vancouver, 12. Prince Rupert, 10. Dease Lake, 7. Mayo, 1 and cloudy. Old Crow, sunny and -8. Watee, sunny there as well at 7. Port Simpson, 8. Fort McPherson, -6. Colville Lake, 1. Baker Lake, -4. Chesterfield, -5. And Arctic Bay, -8. Resolute, -7. And finally for us, a group of youth spent the night at Hunter's Mountain on Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, part of a camp to learn how to survive in the woods, the Mi'kmaq way. For some hunters, mountain inspires poetry, learning, and connecting with each other. APTN video journalist Angel Moore brings us this story.
12 Mi'kmaq youth are learning how to cut and build a shelter, start a fire, shoot a bow and arrow, track animals, and care for the land. But this is more than survival on Hunter's Mountain, Unama'ki, Mi'kmaq for Cape Breton. It's sacred Mi'kmaq hunting grounds and is inspiring the youth in other aspects of their lives. For Angelo Bernard, it is writing poetry, like his great-grandmother.
I'm on my own journey on the side when it comes to writing poetry. I'm the great-grandson of Rita Joe, and I feel like a lot of beauty can come with detail, and to gain that detail in writing comes from lived experiences as well.
Bernard shared part of his poem called Tree of Life.
The roots resemble who I am and where I am from. They are structured but hidden in the dirt. I can be creative, full of happiness and fun. I can fake a smile and hide that I am hurt. The trunk is the foundation and it stands strong.
The Mi'kmaq have been hunting on Hunter's Mountain since time immemorial, and the Union of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq 4th Annual Cultural Camp is ensuring those survival skills continue with 7 volunteers and 4 UNSM staff. Wolastoqey Gugu is the UNSM Infrastructure Manager.
It's about the land-based teachings, teaching our youth about treaty rights education, ensuring that a lot of our ancestral knowledge is passed down. Even though the mountain might be shut down for hunting, the teachings, it's still important for us to continue the teachings. It's critical for us to continue those teachings.
This is the first survival camp for Olivia Johnson. She came to be close to the land and her grandfather.
Well, my grandfather goes to Highlands a lot, and he teaches a lot and does storytelling. And I haven't been in the Highlands for a really long time, and I really missed it. And I just want to see what it's about.
Johnson's grandfather is Clifford Paul. He is helping with the archery and sharing Mi'kmaq knowledge.
The stories end when we stop taking our youth out here. And our youth will say, oh, my uncle or my grandfather used to hunt moose here, or used to camp here. Now we want them to carry the narrative, that they become the storytellers. So it's for us to share the knowledge and enable the kids to be those storytellers and to carry that narrative into the future.
Ryland Bernard hopes to teach the next generation, starting at next year's youth camp.
Absolutely, I would recommend this to everybody and anybody I know. Youth
if it's something that you want to learn, I'd be happy to come here again, volunteer and help as much as I can. That's what my idea was teaching and helping, and as much as the youth here, especially my team. But I'm glad to help anybody that wants to learn.
The camp is already impacting the youth.
Taking into knowledge of who we are as people, Mi'kmaq people, is just what strengthens us, because we already have a strong spirit, but we can get lost when it comes to like who we are, because those things were like forced out of people at times, like residential schools and stuff like that.
Next year, the UNSM Survival Camp hopes to go to Alec Island, Unama'ki, to harvest eel and forage medicines, with more funding to expand the program. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Hunters Mountain, Unama'ki.
Cool story. Thank you, Angel. And that's your evening newscast. We're back again for your daytime newscast tomorrow. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.